A subtle understanding. In this family, there was a subtle understanding. Unspoken, yet always present. That is, as long as the children can handle it, problems don't need to be addressed. The people in this story were actually all kind. They understood each other, felt sorry for each other, and genuinely hoped others wouldn't suffer too much. It's just that they never stopped to ask one question: why do children always need to become pillars prematurely? Later, this family still existed. On the surface, it hadn't shattered or dramatically collapsed. It's just that in each generation's heart, an unspoken feeling remained. That feeling was, in this family, children weren't allowed to be real children. This story has no villains. Only a system that's been used generation after generation. And while this system seemed to help the family weather many storms, it also quietly caused many people to lose their rightful place in their own lives. Dismantling that weird feeling. By now, you might have a certain feeling. Like no one really did anything wrong, but also like something's been weird all along. Now, let's take apart that weird feeling. The adults in the story, they suffered and genuinely didn't want the next generation to suffer too. But the way they held the family together still followed the pattern of shifting responsibility downward. The key structural problem. Let's look at the most critical structure. When a family encounters difficulties, if the solution is let the person least able to resist take on the burden first, then this family will appear very stable on the surface, but in reality, it's using children as shock absorbers. This isn't malicious, it's a reflex trained by the times. Many people say, that's just how we got through our generation. This statement isn't wrong, but the problem is, surviving doesn't mean it was right. Some methods can keep people alive, but don't necessarily let them grow up properly. Parental love, therefore filial piety. Let's return to the most fundamental question: what is parental love? What is the most basic awareness parents should have? What preparation is needed to become a parent? What must parents provide? Offspring need food, clothing, shelter, and to learn future independence. This is the common reproductive logic of all higher-order creatures on Earth. But how many baby boomer era parents couldn't even provide basic food and clothing? So many directly gave away newborns to be raised by others, like modern-day pet adoptions. Their basic logic was, I've given you life, which is already the greatest gift, you should be grateful I let you come into this world. This traditional, internalized religious-style concept led that generation to commonly have 8 or 10 children, then commonly rationalized 2 management methods. First, all children must earn money and hand it over to parents for centralized distribution. Children are assets requiring minimal investment but bringing long-term returns. Second, older children must help raise younger siblings. Once you have a certain asset base, new assets can automatically reduce upfront investment. So the baby boomer generation has the most distorted sibling relationships. And they accepted, deeply planted, and internalized this concept, to the point where eldest brothers and sisters in that era acting as half-parents to younger siblings was standard and necessary. The critical role of EQ. Then the problem arises. If parents with higher EQ can provide emotional regulation in this environment, the conflicts in such a large family are usually manageable. Meaning through small quarrels and spats, there's gratitude and mutual support in growth. Siblings' relationships tend to be deeper and personalities develop more positively. But everything fears the word but. How rare are parents with higher EQ? Would someone with relatively high EQ recklessly reproduce beyond their capacity? I know most people hearing this will think, that era had no contraception. People back then didn't understand these things. All kinds of self-justifying excuses. Actually, the core issue is one: after human culture developed to a certain degree, it presumed culture transcends natural law. So as long as it's within marriage, having any number of children is right and acceptable. This is the most hidden logical fallacy. But this is wrong. From a natural perspective, animals prepare a nurturing environment before mating. So can thinking humans not control themselves? There are many methods, they're just not the most pleasurable. Raising isn't making children carry the family. In the story, why must children support the household? Not because they're better suited to bear it, but because they have no choice. Children can't refuse and have no resources to leave, so their sensibility is actually forced adaptation. There's a commonly overlooked concept here. Raising children isn't pulling kids into adults' difficulties to support the household together, it's adults standing in front, shielding children from weight they shouldn't bear. If roles reverse, that's not kids being sensible, it's adults failing their duty. Many traditional concepts package this very nicely. Like, family should help each other. Kids helping more is a blessing. Just get through it. But few people ask, who should actually be doing this getting through? Two outcomes. When a family long relies on children to stabilize the situation, that child after growing up usually exhibits one of two conditions. One is, they spend their whole life carrying responsibilities for others, never knowing what they themselves want. The other is, at some point they completely break down because both body and mind are depleted. These two look very different, but the root is the same. Heartache doesn't equal ability to be responsible. Let's discuss another easily misunderstood point. Many parents' hearts truly ache for their children. But heartache doesn't equal having the ability to be responsible. This is why problems in the story appear generation after generation. Not because anyone is particularly bad, but because no one in any generation truly stopped to examine this system. Parenting responsibility cannot be pushed onto children. So how should we view parenting responsibility? I'll say it in one simple sentence. Reproduction is a choice, raising is a responsibility, and that responsibility cannot be pushed onto the children. Children aren't tools for solving problems, nor bargaining chips for stability. If a family's stability must rely on children's sacrifice to maintain, then that stability itself is problematic. May you be the person who changes it. Finally, I want to leave you with a thought. If one day you stand between continuing and stopping, are you willing to be responsible for the future you choose? Some cycles persist not because no one tried, but because no one was willing to be the person who changes the structure. This content isn't meant to blame anyone, but rather hopes that when you think about family, reproduction, and responsibility again, you can think one layer deeper. Not asking, should I? Can I? But asking, can I be responsible all the way through? Dedicated to all the brave souls exhausted from holding up families, may you find peace and well-being. The quirky old lady, coming to this world, leave some good before you go. See you next time.